You are right now in the headquarters of the Heavens, which Gabriele Galimberti and myself incorporated in Delaware, so America's smallest state, but famous for being also a tax haven. Almost 3 years ago now, we started a project, a photographic project together, exploring what tax havens are, what they mean, what the consequences are. And as the project evolved and we went and traveled to 12 different destinations around the globe on 4 different continents, we realized that this was a global phenomenon, not a sideshow of the economy, but central to our economy, and that the consequences are enormous. This tax haven story is a story about globalized economy. And so you have the same companies, the same big 4, the big accounting firms. They are all very deeply connected. And it's very rare that one company will have money or businesses in one tax haven, that's all. It's all a complicated structure. And when you start looking for the trail, you find one company in Cayman which owns one company in Luxembourg, which owns one company in Hong Kong, which owns another company in Luxembourg, and so on. One of the things we do show in the book is how, for example, IKEA constructed its tax avoidance schemes in Luxembourg. It's unbelievably complex. If you look at it, it looks like nuclear science. And it really is systems which are constructed from the ground to avoid paying taxes for no other reason. The way we decided to photograph this was also from an aesthetic point of view, very important. So we wanted to have images that when you look at them, feel beautiful and feel they're using a bit the codes of the glossy pictures we use in publicity. And but we always wanted that there was a second meaning, which starts to emerge when you read the caption, and it brings you back to the image and shows you a different level of reading. And we're using the codes, we're using the language of the world we're investigating. So in the room just next to us here, there is an image which could be a postcard from Amsterdam. You've got one of these boats that go on the canals and happy, smiley tourists. You've got dozens of bikes tied around, and those beautiful houses, 17th century houses on the canal. And but if you read the caption, you see that the house at the center of the image is a building where U2 Limited is registered. And U2 Limited is the Dutch branch of U2, the band of Bono, that decided to leave Ireland because they didn't want to pay taxes there, and to relocate to the Netherlands, where you do not pay taxes on intellectual property, which obviously a musician is one of his major sources of income. And what is ironic here is that Bono is the guy that is always, preaching to companies of how they have to be nice with Africans and trying to save the world. And he's the first one that doesn't contribute to the salaries of the nurses in Ireland, of the policemen of Ireland. And Ireland has 12.5% taxes on companies, which is not very high. Everybody would be pretty happy in paying 12.5, but that was not enough for him. He had to construct a whole system that brought his company to be based in the Netherlands to even bring down more his tax bill for somebody which is one of the most wealthy musicians in the world. Absolute hypocrite. Very often the hard part was we learned about something, we studied something, we discovered something, and then you had to translate it into images. And for example, in Panama, there's been a construction boom in the last 10 years. I mean, its skyscrapers have gone up like mushrooms, and the skyline of the city is unrecognizable if you compare it to 10 years ago. And what we found out that very much of this boom is fueled by the drug money from the Colombian and Venezuelan cartels, which come and launder their money in Panama through real estate. And so how do you illustrate that? And one of the ways is that we found out that all these apartments are basically empty because they buy them to fuel the real estate bubble and to launder the money, but nobody really lives there. So we went to a hotel that has this swimming pool at the 60th floor or something, and there's this view of the city with this skyline, which reminds you of Dubai or something like that. But most of the apartments, most of the skyscrapers are completely dark because nobody lives there. So it gives you a postcard beautiful image, but when you read the caption, you come back to the image with a different understanding. Again, we're using references, image of reference here. It looks like a James Bond movie or something like that. So this is a finance minister of the British Virgin Islands in his office, and his office looks more or less what you would use like for an illustration for tax havens. You have a palm-fringed beach, white sand, turquoise water, beautiful sky, and the guy is on the phone. He's in a nice iron shirt. When we were there, we thought this is like the picture-perfect case, and we always were looking in ways to show how tax havens is a moment where a government and private interests come together. So governments get often captured by the interest of tax havens, and that's why tax havens tend to be small places. It's a system which is flawed, rotten in many ways, completely obsessed with money. That's something we show in Singapore, for example. A Filipino maid works like crazy, and on only day off prostitutes herself. This is a system that has come to certain extremes, and we feel that the push to money to that extreme has been that is wrong in itself. But the people which are part of the system very often don't even realize what they're doing. They're very much part of a system. This is white-collar businessmen working in a system where they get bonuses if the company they work for manages to avoid taxes. I do not think that in a story like this there's good and bad like in a Western film. It's not the good guys against the bad guys. It's a lot more complex than that. You have a system where basically we are all involved. Your bank would disadvise you from buying stocks from a company that doesn't do aggressive tax optimization because they say they're not doing their job well. You see, and your pension plan is very probably split up lots of different tax havens. So we're not talking of something which is illegal. 99% of what happens in tax havens is absolutely legal, but it's immoral. The first room was like, it's a dark room where you go in, and what you see are dozens of normal objects, everyday objects. Batteries, ketchup, condoms, aspirin, perfume, you name it. Everyday objects. And these are objects produced by companies we all use, companies we all give money to. Skype, Amazon, Macintosh, Facebook. These companies have constructed systems and secret agreements with the government of Luxembourg to avoid paying taxes. These agreements are against the rules of the European Union, of which Luxembourg is part. This scandal broke out through the revelations of a very young French man who was an employee of PwC, Antoine Deltour. This happened about a year ago, and right now the only person which is under investigation for this entire scandal is not the people of PwC, are not the companies, is not the government of Luxembourg, but it's Antoine Deltour, the whistleblower, who's risking 6 years of jail for exposing the illegal agreements the companies, the multinationals had with Luxembourg. And it's also bringing it back to us. When you go and buy something on IKEA, you're helping a company which uses very aggressive tax avoidance techniques.